In yesterday's video, we talked about some English promo cards that were hitting obscene all-time highs. And in today's video, we're going to talk about some Japanese promos that are continuing to climb, specifically in PSA 10s. And as you probably saw in the thumbnail, these are some of the coolest Pokemon cards, in my opinion, that have ever been created and that we've ever gotten. They're so unique, and they are really taking that with these crazy price tags. And let's just jump straight into it, starting off with the Charizard Poncho Pikachu card here. Now, you can see that even in a raw price, around $1,800, these are very, very expensive. But what you will notice is that PSA 10 pricing, we're on price charting right now, these prices have just steadily moved up and up, specifically from the beginning of this year up until where we're at right now. We're seeing sales as high as $6,800 for this card in a PSA 10, which definitely for the average collector, definitely not obtainable, right? This is very, very expensive. I don't own any of these cards either. I'm with you guys. I couldn't currently justify spending that much money on a piece of cardboard, but maybe someday, you kind of have it as a goal to maybe have in your collection. There's so many cool cards on this list that I would love to own, and this obviously being one of them. I don't know where I would rank this one compared to some of the other cards on the list, but I definitely would want to own some of these cards. And it's just kind of crazy to think that they can hold this immense value in a PSA 10. So yeah, absolutely wild to see. We're just going to keep going here. So that is the first one on the list, the Poncho Charizard. And then let me know in the comments, which one is your favorite? If you could pick one from this list, which one would you pick to own? Then next up we have, this is the shiny Rayquaza version, and you can see super adorable Pikachu artwork, obviously, by the way, too. So very unique, very adorable, but you can see for this one, the raw prices did move up kind of from the beginning of the year. Raw prices closing in on getting closer to $3,000, but PSA 10 price is seeing a much bigger jump from 4,500 all the way up to now we're seeing over $6,000 for the Rayquaza as well. So a lot of these cards seeing more massive jumps on the PSA 10 side. I don't know how much of that has to do with right now there's been so much big jumps with like Bitcoin and other cryptos and stuff. I don't know if it's has to do with whales moving into the Pokemon space, picking up some of these high-end cards, but definitely has been driving the price up as of late, specifically from the beginning of this year. So kind of crazy to see that, like I said, that cardboard can be this expensive. But yeah, I'm just in awe when I look at these. And I don't know if I'm going to ever own them, but any of them, but it is this, I wouldn't mind. Between these two, I'd probably take the Charizard over the shiny Rayquaza. But then when it comes to the next two cards, these are not ponchos, but these are, I think, some of the coolest cards that have ever been made. I love these cards, the Mario Pikachu and Luigi Pikachu that we'll look at in a second. These ones are seeing massive gains on the PSA 10 side recently. You can see almost to $12,000 in a PSA 10. We talked about this card not that long ago, a few months ago on a live stream where I said if I owned this card, I wouldn't be selling it just because it's so cool, so unique, so rare. And you can see, like, just look at what it has been doing in a PSA 10. So absolutely crazy. Even raw value has shot up recently, almost to around $3,000 in raw form, if you can believe that. Absolutely insane. 2,900 ungraded right here. So just crazy value. I know, like I said, most people aren't going to be even looking at purchasing these cards, but it is still cool to see kind of what they go for in the current market. Luigi Pikachu, not as expensive, but still, and then these are like a set too. Like, that's even crazier when you start to combine the Mario and the Luigi, or all of the ponchos in general too. But you can see, as far as the Luigi goes, as far as raw pricing, it's creeping up on $2,000. It hasn't moved quite as much raw, but you can see, because like back here it was at $1,800 in February, and 4,700 in a 10. But as the months went on, we're seeing $8,800 in a PSA 10 currently. So that's absolutely insane. PSA 10s are in high demand for these cards, and it's pretty much going to be all of them. So just crazy. Let me know in the comments, like, which is your favorite. If you could pick one, what are you going with and why? Are you just going to pick the most expensive one? Or are you going to pick the one that calls to you the most? I don't know. It's kind of hard for me not to want to go with this guy. I do think it's rather unique, and we will look at some more affordable options in a second at the end of the video. But I just wanted to touch on some of these bigger cards at the beginning. And then, so here's the regular Rayquaza here, and we'll compare pricing a little bit. Now, this one, you can see a big fluctuation in raw pricing. It kind of actually more correlating with the PSA 10 pricing, which you would think you would see a little bit more with some of the other ones, but no, it was mostly just PSA 10. But you can see raw starting to move up in correlation with PSA 10. So currently around 2,900 raw, 5,800 for the regular Rayquaza in a PSA 10. And like back here, looks like beginning of the year we were seeing 1,100 raw versus 2,800 in a PSA 10. Still very expensive, but when you look at it, you go, okay, you know, that seems a lot more obtainable, if you will. And then it just starts to get to that price. I feel like 2,000 for a raw card, and once you start to get, over multiple thousands of dollars for a PSA 10, it really puts you in like just another level of like collector, and that is just insane to see that we are seeing these prices on these cards. Now, for the ponchos, this would probably be my favorite. This or the Magikarp. As a big Gyarados fan myself, absolutely love this card. Super stunning. It just calls to me in every way as a Gyarados fan. Now on this one, we have seen the raw price move up a little, not as much as the PSA 10. We're seeing over $5,000 currently in a PSA 10 versus 2,500 in raw. So the raw has moved up a little bit, just not to the same extent, but currently, like, yeah, once again, $2,500 for a raw copy is insane, and 5,000 for a PSA 10, just absolutely wild to see. Considering back here, let's say you went back to 2023, you pretty much could be getting a PSA 10, or when was it last at 2,500? April 2024. You could have gotten a PSA 10 for now what the raw price is. So that's wild to see too, that that's how much these have gone up recently, and obviously highly collectible and highly investable if you would have held for a very long time. I mean, back in 2023, you'd be looking real good, especially if you would have picked up some raw copies and graded them yourself. If you're able to hit some 10s, you would have been doing very, very, very well for yourself. So time is definitely been suiting these cards a lot well. These cards have been the benefactor of time going on, and we'll see if these prices continue to hold moving forward, if it's just a blip in the radar and they come back down, or if they just go up and they just kind of set new bars as far as these go. Like I said, I don't typically deal with these high-end cards. Like I'm not buying and selling them by any means. Like I said, too expensive for me, but it is interesting to track. And then, like I said, I wouldn't mind owning some of them in the future if things worked out that way. But it just doesn't seem like that's currently in the cards for me. And then the Magikarp, to a lesser extent, is one that I would want as well. Obviously not going to be as expensive, but you can see PSA 10s around 5,200 and Raws around 2,200. And people love to have the sets of all of them. So they all hold pretty good value, all things considered. And looks like, so currently 2,200 ungraded. You could have gotten a PSA 10 for 2,200 back in February of 2024. So once again, wild to think of in that perspective. And then we also have a little different here. We have the Team Skull Pikachu here. Another super cool Pikachu card. I hope that they do. It doesn't have to be with Pikachu, and it doesn't have to be like this, but I would love to see them do some more promo stuff like this in the future. I feel like we haven't gotten anything like kind of unique like this in a while. I think it would be cool for them to do some stuff like this, but this one's shooting up pretty big recently, up to around 6,700 in a PSA 10. In June, this was around 4,400, so a big jump in a short time, where actually the raw price went down from 2,200 to $2,000, while the PSA 10 price actually went up on these cards for the Team Skull. So that was a little bit of an interesting move there, as far as between raw and PSA 10. But yeah, that jump, I'd have to double check the PSA 10 listings. And actually you can see some of the last solds are actually higher than that. Because we have 6,700 here, but 7,600 and 7,700 are actually some of the more recent sales. So we'll have to see if this updates how high the Team Skull Pikachu actually ends up going in a PSA 10. And then, just to put it in perspective, for some more affordable but still very expensive cards, we'll look at kind of the half art versions of a few of these. With the starting off with the Mario Pikachu. Now this is one that I thought for a while maybe I could afford. It's still a very nice looking card. Obviously doesn't quite compare to the full art version, but what we're seeing currently as far as prices go, shooting up quite a bit, 4,700 in a 10, not that long ago. Let's see, beginning of the year it was 1,800 in a 10 and like 800 raw. So this is one where I kind of looked at it and I go, oh, well, this seemed a lot more maybe attainable. But now seeing these current prices, I mean, one as high as 5,500 in a 10, they're just going absolutely insane. So even though the people who got priced out of the full arts, they're just moving into the half arts. So these cards just continuing to go to the moon. Same thing with the Luigi Pikachu. Definitely a little bit more affordable currently. Sorry, this photo is not a little bit bigger, but up to around 3,200 in a 10 currently, and around 930 ungraded. And let's see if the most recent sales are a little bit higher than that. 3,100, 3,200, one as high as 4,600 for the Luigi Pikachu. So those are some more affordable comparatively to the full arts, but and then here's another poncho Pikachu currently that is affordable, a half art, not as cool. Honestly, I do like, obviously the Pikachu with the Alolan Vulpix is cool, but just not quite as cool when you get the half arts. But you know, you never know, you give these more time, we could be looking back in the future and saying, well, this was a cheap time to get them. And people do the same thing. You see this a lot with sports cards as well, where people can't afford, for example, like the LeBron James rookie card. Then they go to the second year card and then the third year card, and they get whatever is affordable, right? And that's kind of what you're seeing with the ponchos. People want the full arts and they'll take the half arts, whatever they can afford. So similar things are happening, but you can see that this has shot up quite a bit recently. Let's see, beginning of the year, it was 510 versus 250 ungraded. And now we're, you know, at almost 1,000 ungraded and almost 500 raw. So this card has been shooting up, but a lot more affordable. This is like starting in the price range of a very expensive card that I potentially could see myself buying. So at least for the time being, you know, it's always we fall guilty to, when it comes to getting these cards for our collection, you know, you sit and you go, oh, it'll wait, it'll be there. And then by the time you go back to it, it's shot up in price and it's a lot more expensive. And then if you end up buying it, you end up paying a lot more for it because you just waited. Because, you know, for example, look how long this card stagnated, you know, months and months and months. Sometimes they sit at prices before they move. So this is another example of a card that could go big. I don't know. I'm not saying necessarily that it will. But comparatively, you would think that it would start to see some movement. And then lastly, this is a cool card, another half art where you get to see a bunch of Poncho Pikachus. Super cool right here. And this one, same thing, raw price, not really moving up too much more recently, but PSA 10 prices up to around $3,200. Absolutely insane. Like I said, I know that showing and talking about these cards. I do get it in the comments from here and there. Like, who cares? Why are you showing these cards? They're too expensive. I could never buy them. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I get it. I know. Like, I'm not buying them either. I'm with you guys. But that doesn't mean that it's not cool to see. Cool to know where the market's at. And, you know, you are allowed to, like, dream and look at stuff, right? I'm sure you do that all the time with stuff. You look at houses online. You look at cars. You look at stuff out of your price range. It's cool to see just where things are at, what people buy, and stuff like that. It gives you a sense of the market and sense of other stuff that's out there. So that's why I do like showcasing it from time to time, and comparatively, you know, and there's nothing wrong with like wanting to have goals and be like, oh, okay, you know, maybe if things were crazy, or, you know, you play that game of like, oh, if I won the lottery, or if I did this, you know, what would I buy? Kind of stuff like that, or whatever it may be. So yes, I do acknowledge that these are expensive. I don't have them either, but it is fun to look at if you're in the right mindset. It can get depressing and it can drive you like down into a bad mental state. Totally acknowledging that. So you got to make sure you put a positive spin on it. But that can be said for anything in life. So that's all I have for you guys in this one. I just thought it was a fun little look at some of the cool ponchos and just some of the crazy price movement that we're seeing lately. But that's all I have for you guys in this one. I'll catch you in the next one. And remember, it was never a phase.